Thank you for tuning into Literary Blend, a publishing podcast. I'm your host, Demi Michelle Schwartz. There's no perfect recipe for chasing a dream in the publishing industry, but I hope the conversations on this show give you the ingredients you need to bake yours into reality. So let's flip the page and get into this chapter of Literary Blend. Hi friends, welcome back to Literary Blend. Today's chapter is called Kindness Corner. And joining me on the show is a returning guest. I have chosen the perfect person to cover this topic. Please welcome Danielle Render Turmaud. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, Demi. Oh my goodness. I'm smiling from ear to ear, and we only just started. That was such a sweet intro. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm delighted to have you on the show again. If the listeners have tuned in, you're going to be a super familiar voice. You've been on twice before, and this will not be the last time. I know that for sure.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I
Yeah.
am glad to be a returning guest because Literary Blend is phenomenal.
Awesome. So last time you were on was the end of last year, and I cannot believe we're already in the middle of May. That's crazy. So how
I
has
know.
2025 been for you so far?
It has been a wild ride. Um, a lot of really exciting things like going on submission with my agent, getting some really exciting publisher interest on some of my books, and a lot of highs and lows as publishing really. I mean, it really is. That's very much so what it's like. There's a lot of highs and lows, and sometimes in between, but usually more just the highs and lows. But it's been a really interesting journey of learning more about who I am and what it means to be on submission, and got some exciting projects I'm working on, like my own podcast, which you have been on, and an exciting publishing event for kids this summer. So a lot of really exciting things have been happening.
Yeah, it's been so incredible to watch your journey so far this year with submission and starting your podcast and everything. I'm so happy for you and congrats on everything you've achieved so far.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all the support and kindness you have shown me in this journey.
Yeah.
The topic of the day.
Nice transition. Look at that.
This is
Perfect.
what happens when you get two podcast hosts together.
Perfect. So the first thing I want to touch on with kindness in general, I think it's so important. Like you mentioned, there are highs and lows in publishing and we're all experiencing those. And I don't know about you, but when you're scrolling through Twitter, it's not X in my brain, it's still Twitter. When you're scrolling through Twitter and you see, everyone posting like their agent announcements, book deal announcements, and just some people seeming like they're living the perfect best life. What we need to remember is social media, especially, it doesn't show everything. I, for one, try to be extremely positive on social media, but I do struggle day to day and like the rest of us. And so the main thing with kindness is just to always be that way to others, be kind to others, because even if on the outside it looks like they're living their best life and nothing is wrong, I guarantee you something is going on in their life. And kindness can really go a long way when you have no idea what someone is going through.
Absolutely. Those snapshots into somebody's life, particularly when they're focused on the positive, can leave us feeling like imposters or leave us feeling like our pace is wrong or not good enough or we're failing or whatever it is. And the truth is the highs and lows hit every single one of us in our publication journey, whether we are traditionally seeking traditional publication or indie or self-publishing. It really doesn't matter. They all have highs and lows. And yeah, those snapshots are just what they are. They're snapshots. They're not the entire collage. And it's really important for us to be able to support and join each other in this journey and know we're not alone.
Absolutely. And I think the beautiful thing about kindness is it works both ways. When my author
Yes.
friends like you reach out and just share such special gifts of kindness through words and actions, it truly touches my heart, and it reminds me I'm not alone, and it reminds me that there are people in my life who care and who are rooting for me, and that feels amazing. And when you do that for somebody else, you're giving that gift of kindness to somebody else, and I guarantee you it means the absolute world to them in that moment. And kindness doesn't cost a single thing. And so these are things that we can do daily just when we see things online, when we see people in real life, just showing those acts of kindness because you never know what that could do for someone.
I really love that you said it is reciprocal, even if the person doesn't necessarily show you kindness back. When we are giving kindness, we're giving it to ourselves as well. Both because I think about like you and I will message each other really and support each other, which has been such a gift. And I think about in those moments, whether it's you or another writing friend that I have, if I'm sharing something, whether it's encouraging or celebrating, I'm speaking to myself too. And I'm sharing those kind words with myself as an author in my journey as well, whether it's like no matter whether whether it's like, "Hey, I feel the pass with you. Just remember it's a not yet, not a no." It's really cool to be able to speak those things over ourselves while we're speaking it to the people around us. But also, I totally nerded out before this episode and did some research surrounding psychology and neurobiology of kindness. So I'm going to bring little tidbits of that in if that's cool throughout
Yeah,
this episode.
absolutely.
But one thing that is really cool is actually a lot of research talks about how kindness is benefits not only the receiver but the giver in so many ways. And actually it's has such powerful effects that not only doing acts of kindness but even just thinking about acts of kindness can have the same effects. So much so that there are meditations on kindness that we use in the therapy world and on compassion. Us seeing kindness of others has some of the same effects in our body, even if we're not the recipient. And us even just thinking about kindness on this episode right now is actually benefiting our nervous systems and our bodies. And that is really, really cool to think about that even not even doing the acts of kindness is needed. I mean, obviously, let's do it, right? But like there are the acts of kindness is so powerful. Kindness is so powerful in our nervous systems that it benefits us by even just thinking about it.
Ah, I love that so much, and I'm not surprised there's research backing up the fact that when you're kind to somebody else, it benefits you as well because every single time that I express kindness to someone, I feel good because I know I did a good thing. And I think that's something to remember is, just showing acts of kindness to others. It makes you feel good. It makes you recognize, oh my gosh, like I made that person's day. What a great thing that was. And the other thing I wanted to touch on as well was kindness to ourselves, which we sometimes forget. I mean, I forget this all the time. We're so aware of being kind to other people, and we can sometimes not be kind to ourselves because it's easier to be kind to other people than ourselves because we're so hard on ourselves and all of that. So, can you share your thoughts on the importance of being kind to ourselves and how we can be better at that when it's difficult?
Yes. Okay. So first, I think one of the things that I have found as a human and a therapist that is the most important thing or one of the most helpful things is just knowing what's happening in our brain and our body can be really empowering. So I think first, I think about how what you were talking about, this concept of being kind to others is easier than being kind to ourselves. Well, there's actually a biological reason for that. And that is that our brain and our body, its first goal is survival. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means our brain and our body is hyper focused on things that are dangerous or threat or going to get in our way of surviving and our goals in our life. So, actually, biologically and neurobiologically, it makes sense for most of us that it can be challenging for us to show ourselves the compassion, whether or not we have a trauma history or our experiences. That's like a whole additional layers, right? But because our brain is so focused on what is wrong, what am I not doing, what's not happening around me, what do I need to do to achieve my goals, to survive, etc., to decrease my stress response, it's actually a protective factor of our brain. So first I just want to name that because I think that can help us decrease the shame of the challenges we can feel to give ourselves self-compassion before we even get to, well, how do we do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I think it's super interesting to hear that as well because you're exactly right. And again, you have the science to back it up. And just thinking about, the times where I feel like I should be kind to myself and struggle with that. I mean, I too focused on, like those survival instincts and the negative things going on. And also, too, like getting in the headspace sometimes of when I'm dealing with the rejection and when I'm doing a lot of reflecting on how I'm basically back at square one querying again after going through everything I went through. Like I can feel like maybe I don't deserve another age or maybe I don't deserve it. And then it's
Mhm.
like, no, wait, no, that I should not be thinking those things about myself. If you if you came to me with like your struggles and I said, do you know what, Danielle? You don't deserve a book deal. I would
Yeah.
never say that. So like, why am I saying that
No.
to myself?
Well, and it first of all, like, I hear you, friend. I hear you. And it in a weird way, it now that I've, like, been in this field for so long, it makes sense because it's our brain and our body trying to motivate us and give us the energy in a weird way. It doesn't feel like it, right? Because sometimes it can shut us down, but actually it's these, like, protective parts within us that are trying to go, "Okay, I'm gonna motivate you to send the next query or to do the next thing because we don't wanna feel this." It is both very fascinating and complicated, and yet I think it is, in my own journey at least, has been so empowering for me to go, okay, like when in these, I call them parts because I'm big on internal family systems, which is a type of therapy in the therapy world where we see ourselves as not just as a complex system of different parts of us. We're not just one thing. We're complicated, beautiful humans with a lot of different parts to us. And so I call it when this part comes up that might be critical, for example, that what she's actually trying to do in a way that's not doesn't feel helpful, but it is what she's trying to do. It's her goal is to motivate me to do the next thing or get to the next place. Um, but yet that kindness and self compassion actually is more grounding versus trying to it doesn't cause the stress response that our body is activating when we're unkind to ourselves, which gives us a burst of energy in that moment, but it's not sustainable in the long term. That kindness and compassion is what will ground us and be sustainable. So like for example, I'll think about in my own journey, um got a challenging past recently, and I was feeling really defeated and disappointed. And I needed several days, honestly, to just let it sink in. It was one that I was hoping for a while. It seemed really promising. And, a lot of different thoughts and feelings came up, whether it's I'm not good enough, or I'm never going to get there, or now I have to wait for several months again because the waiting is brutal. um, and you know what? I had to feel those things, but those thoughts in the long term, they're they would tear my system down and cause a stress response. Where over time, as I let myself feel it, instead it was no, like this is the industry. Passes are expected. It's a not yet, not a no. I reached out into my community and the kindness all of you showed me helped me ground myself back in my own compassion and kindness. um, and those words that I brought back to my system of, you can do this. This is a not yet. I believe in you. Literally sent myself some emails to say on the top so I
Oh, love it.
wouldn't see the passes.
Oh,
Sometimes
so
I'll do that
good.
actually, where if I get a pass or something that makes me defeated, I'll send myself an email where in the subject line it says, I believe in you. You
Oh
can
my
do this.
gosh, I
So I
love
don't have to
it.
see that at the top of the email all the time, until I get new emails. And those words, those are the things that are going to get us to that long term goal because that kindness will motivate us and ground us in the long term, not just the short term.
Yeah. Something that I've been doing recently, like when I'm tracking my queries, like before I put them in my sheet as a rejection, now I call them passes. Like I changed that language, and I think that kind of ties into the words that we tell ourselves. If I look at my sheet and I see full request, full request, full request, rejection, 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 like I'm gonna see the rejections, not the full request. And now that I'm listing things as passes, it's so much softer in the fact that, okay, they didn't reject me. They didn't necessarily like hate the book and reject the book. It was just a pass on it wasn't a fit for me. And so even little things like that can really go a long way.
Oh, absolutely. I'll share a fun little nerdy thing that actually I did recently to advocate for myself in this, to try to help with my own internal dialogue and feelings around the journey. So, my wonderful agent in our spreadsheet, I actually asked her, you know, how a lot of agents will have spreadsheets talk like tracking submissions. Well, a lot of agents, understandably, it's been kind of just common for people when it's a pass to put red and then green if it's an offer type of thing. Well, I shared with my agent, Rebecca, that actually it really helps my nervous system and the way that I process it for it to be a green when it's a pass because we're going to get more of those. So seeing all red, like red has been associated with a stop or a bad or a negative thing. And so I found when I was querying that when I changed it to green, it reminded me of a green light to keep going. It was motivating versus discouraging, and she actually changed my spreadsheet for me, and it was really cool
I
to
love
see
it.
how when I look at my spreadsheet now, I don't have that same sense of impending discouragement or disappointment by seeing the red on the passes. I see green and it motivates me to go, oh, yeah, it was just a pass. It wasn't a rejection. It was just a pass. And we're going to keep going until we find the right fit.
I love that so much. It really is the little things like that that we can do things for ourselves to show ourselves kindness. That was an act of you showing kindness to yourself. You're allowing yourself to see green instead of red, seeing green as a reminder to keep going. And that's something you did for yourself that helped you on your journey. And I think we can do these little things for ourselves that really help to keep us motivated and positive even when things are difficult.
I was thinking about something you said earlier, where you said that you feel good when you're kind to others or yourself. Well, really cool thing is you feel good because literally your brain is releasing feel good neurotransmitters and hormones into your body. Like we get flooded with that with kindness. I'll try not to get too technical, but like, for example, dopamine, which is involved in pleasure, serotonin, which is involved in regulating mood and boosting mood, oxytocin, which is when we're feeling connected and close. That's like sometimes people call it like the cuddle hormone, right? Like when you're cuddling with somebody and it feels really good, or even a pet. And then even endorphins, which are natural painkillers in our body. When we are kind to ourselves and other people, those flood our body and literally help us to feel good about where we are in that moment and support that other person or ourselves. And I think that is really, really cool.
I think it's super cool as well. And I also wanted to mention too that when it comes to kindness and publishing, especially, I think it's super important to allow others to see that you're a kind person because this is a business. And if you're somebody who spreads negativity, tears other people down, talks bad about agents and editors on social media, people are going to see that too. And people will also recognize kindness. And so if you are actively showing kindness to yourself, being positive, showing kindness to other people, others in the industry will recognize that and it will definitely help you maintain a positive reputation.
Absolutely. The writing community, I remember when I started in this community, I had heard that the writing community is small, but I didn't really realize it until I got a lot deeper into the writing community. And now I'm going, whoa. I mean, really, when you're deeper in it, people know like everyone knows everybody and or is connected in some shape or form. And the way that we treat people really, really matters. And especially in an industry like this that is challenging and has a lot of downs and hard moments. And we really need that motivation and that encouragement and that kindness.
Absolutely. Cannot believe it, but we are getting down to the end of our chat, which is wildness because I could keep talking on and on and on. You're fabulous. So, before we get to the plot twist, though, what are some final thoughts you would love to share about kindness and chasing this writing dream?
You know, I think one of the things I was thinking the most about when I was thinking about kindness was In one of the former episodes we did together surrounding rejection and the writing journey, you and I talked about how rejection quite literally shows up in the brain in similar parts of the brain as to when we feel pain. So when we're feeling rejected, we're literally feeling and processing it as if it's pain. So it is quite literally painful. One of the really cool things about kindness to me is that it actually helps. So it gives us endorphins, which is a natural painkiller. So I was sitting here and I was like, "Whoa, think about that. What if our kindness helps relieve the pain of others' rejection, quite literally, that their brain and their body is feeling? That isn't a choice. We don't get a choice to feel that. Our brains and our bodies process it that way. And what if our kindness can help us relieve that for somebody else in our community? How powerful and beautiful that is."
Wow, truly amazing. And the final thing I would like to say is we can all use more kindness and be a person who contributes to making the world a better place.
Yeah, let's build ourselves and others up, which is what kindness does. It boosts self-esteem. Like, let's build ourselves and others up and not tear us down. There's enough reason in the world to believe that we're not good enough. Let's show ourselves and everybody else that we truly are, and we already have everything we need within us to live our lives and be on this journey.
Yes, absolutely. Perfect. So now it's time for your plot twist. And when I came up with this one earlier, I started like cackling like an evil magician because
Oh gosh.
it's so good. Okay, so both of our names start with the letter D. And
Mhm.
so let's take a moment to think about, Danielle, if you could pick three adjectives starting with the letter D that describe picture books, what would they be?
Oh my gosh, that is so fun, especially because I do stuff like this with clients sometimes where I'll have them write their name and have them do adjectives to describe, like positive adjectives to describe themselves, which listeners, you should do that too. It's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. D. Um, oh my goodness. Now I'm going to blank on all adjectives that are a D. Um, so to describe picture books, right? Like
Yeah.
their impact in the
Yeah,
world and
yeah.
like what
However you want to
they,
interpret. Yeah.
okay. Um, First one, the first adjective that keeps coming to mind is daring. I think I'm going to say that one because at least some of the books that I write are about inclusion and equity and identity. And honestly, some of them are pretty daring, especially in the political landscape. And I read so many incredible books that dare to do really beautiful things to support children and knowing that they're enough just as they are and letting them see themselves in the pages. So I would say daring.
Oh, love it.
Um,
Two more.
D. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Oh my gosh, I'm about to look something up. I'm like, I need to like look up adjectives really quick because I'm totally blanking. I'm a writer and I'm like, I need to Google. Hold on, I'm gonna actually cheat. I'm gonna cheat. Am I allowed to do that?
Go ahead.
Okay, let's see.
One came
Adjectives
to my
for D.
mind while you're cheating.
Ooh, tell me. Tell me.
Delightful.
Yes, they are incredibly delightful.
Yeah.
I would also say, since I'm cheating, um, I would say they're dedicated.
Oh, okay,
Like
that's a good one.
authors really picture book authors. I love being in the kidlit community because they really, really dedicate themselves to meeting kids where they are and trying to love on them through words. Um, and I would also probably say durable because it's really cool to see how like picture books from when I was a kid or even my parents were a kid still speak to children today. Some of them not necessarily, but a lot of them do. Like they go across generations, which is really powerful and beautiful.
I love it. Perfect. Even though you're the first one who cheated during a plot twist.
You know what? I showed myself kindness
Yeah.
by giving myself permission to do some research, you know? Like I did that for myself.
That was
Ooh,
so
okay. Am
funny.
I allowed to do a plot twist on your plot twist
Oh my
before we
god.
end? Uh-huh, I'm gonna do it. I'm pulling the therapist card. Okay, listen. You and I both have to say three adjectives that positively describe ourselves with a D about ourselves. decided to plot twist on your plot twist. Okay, I will start since I've done this before for myself, and I also have the list pulled up, so I feel like it's probably easier for me to start. I would still say daring. I'm one of those humans that being bold and courageous is one of the things that I really want to be. I really want to leave a legacy in this world where people see me being somebody does who spreads more love and joy in the world, no matter how hard it is for me, and no matter what steps that means or what that takes. So daring. Um, I'm also really oh my gosh, this is really funny. I'm saying all the same ones for picture books, and I'm not intending to, but dedicated is really like I'm dedicated. I'm really dedicated to my people and my clients and my writing and my dreams. And I'm also really dedicated to living a life that's authentically myself. And I would also say dynamic
Oh, love that
because
one.
I see myself as both someone who has a lot of energy towards the things I care about, but also because I'm really complex and I've accepted that as a beautiful thing. Your turn.
And I'm not cheating, by the way.
Are you not? Actually?
um, so the first one I would like to say is determined because I will keep going until I achieve my dreams. No matter what it takes, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much rejection, I'm determined and I'm not going to stop. The second one, I'm gonna make up an adjective related to dream chaser, dream chasey. Let's go with
Yes.
that.
Yes.
I've always been someone who just shoots for the stars in everything that I do, and so I've always been that person to go after my dreams, whatever it means. Haha. If you
Listeners,
know,
that
you
is her
know.
talking about the title for the You, Me, and the Writing Journey episode. You should go listen to it. It was amazing. Keep going.
And then the third one, I would say dauntless
Oh,
because I feel like when I started, this is something I grew into. This was not me when I started. When I started back in 2022, when I created the first time, I was so scared. And I feel like there were so many chances I missed out on because I was scared. And now I feel like I'm dauntless in the fact that I have such belief in myself now that I'm not afraid to put myself out there. I'm not afraid to take chances. And yeah, so dauntless, determined, and dream chasey, which is my made up word.
I love that so much. You are so inspiring, and
Aww.
hearing the kindness you've shown yourself in this journey to get to this place to where you feel dauntless is so beautiful. And listeners, if I can encourage you as we're ending, like, and it's not my episode, but so Demi will end it, but like, if I can encourage you, take a minute to do what Demi and I just did, because I know she and I are both are smiling from ear to ear right now, just giving ourselves permission to show ourselves kindness. So just do this for yourself and maybe send a couple of adjectives like this to your people to just let them know you really believe in them. Cause oh my gosh, I feel like $1 million right now. I
Yeah,
don't
me
know about
too.
you, Demi, but we are literally just released all the beautiful neurotransmitters and hormones into our body. Thank you, kindness.
Oh my goodness. Well, this was so delightful. There's another D adjective.
I was trying to find a way to
Perfect.
use divergent because that's also one of my favorite series, but I couldn't come up with it.
Oh my gosh. So, can you please share with everybody where they can find you online and listen to your podcast?
Yeah. So my podcast is called You, Me, and the Writing Journey, and it is a podcast that meets at the intersection of literary and well-being and mental health. You can find it on Apple, Amazon. Some of them are on YouTube, um, and uh, and you can also find that on X and Blue Sky, and you can also find me, Danielle Render Turmaud, on Instagram, Twitter or X and Blue Sky at D Render Turmaud is how you spell it, but it's Turmo. And yeah, I'm happy to connect with all of you and show you some kindness and support you in the journey.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this wonderful conversation.
Thank you, Demi.
You're so welcome. And listeners, that is a wrap on this chat with Danielle, all about the Kindness Corner. If you enjoyed our conversation, please consider leaving Literary Blend a review and giving it 5 stars to help others just like you discover it. Also, if you have friends in publishing you think would enjoy the show, please pass it along to them. Thanks for listening, and until we flip to the next chapter, happy reading and writing.